as we go forward in glorifying you. Just set aside distractions from us, that we can give this time to you and focus. And just thanks again that we can be together and just worship you freely in this time. In Jesus' name.
Up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, worship His holy name. You're rich in love and you're slow to anger. Your name is great and your heart is kind. For all your goodness I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, worship His holy name. On that day when my strength is failing, the end draws near and my time has come. Still my soul will sing your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, worship His holy name. I will worship your holy name.
seat. I see heaven invading this place. I see angels praising your holy name, and I sing praises, give you honor, worthy Jesus. And I see glory falling in this place, and I see hope restore the healing of all disease, and I sing praises, give you honor, worthy Jesus. And we give you, oh, we give you praise and all of the honor. You are our God, the one we live for. We give you praise, all of the glory, God. We give you praise and all of the honor. You are our God, the one we live for. We give you praise, all of the glory, God.
And I see glory falling in this place, and I see hope restored, the healing of all disease. And I sing praises, give you honor, worthy Jesus. Oh, we give you praise and all of the honor. You are our God, the one we live for. We give you praise, all of the glory, God. We give you praise and all of the honor. You are our God, the one we live for. We give you praise, all of the glory, God,
And all of the glory, and all of the glory, and all of the glory, and all of the glory.
Church. We'd like you, if you feel comfortable doing it, to fill it out and put the information that's on the back of the card that we ask for. We'd really like to meet you, get to know you, and to be blessed with you. So you can fill this card out, and you can put it in the box on your way out after the service. Yeah, it's fine now. Okay. All right. Just a couple of announcements. The young people, the middle and high school students, Chris will dismiss toward the end of the message um, for the meetings inside there. And I want to say a special word about family groups. I don't know if you've joined a family group yet, but the family group that I joined, we're just being blessed every time we meet. It's just a wonderful, wonderful evening we have together. So if you haven't joined a family group, please join one. You will be blessed. The two that I want to mention today, because we're setting up some more for the new year, and they haven't all been set up or announced and organized yet, so we'll let you know more information maybe next week or the week after that. But the two that I can announce are the one every Wednesday at 7 o'clock at George and Ellie Escobar, and that's on the North Shore. And also, Chris is setting up a new guys group, a new men's group on Monday the 23rd at 6:30. Now, Chris had one a while back, and all of us who attended were just so so excited about it. We had a great time, and I'm glad it's back. Let me see what else. I think that's about it. Chris?
Henry a hand. Thank you, buddy. Happy New Year, 2023. Ready or not, here we are. Did you guys all stay out super late last night? Okay, yeah, I could tell. Well, it's always good to celebrate New Year together, and I'm excited about it. It's gonna be good. So, anytime we land in this spot, like day one of a new year, which has just so happened to be on a Sunday this year, it's a significant moment. It's a unique moment that we have once a year, but you look at the prospect of New Year, and it's absolutely full of potential and possibilities. And at the same time, ink's not dry on 2022 yet. We're still kind of living in the wake of last year, but here we are looking at this new year, and so it's an interesting moment, and we have this uncharted territory in front of us, and it's exciting. We're probably a little nervous and apprehensive, maybe. I think we're probably still a little bit, traumatized from a couple years ago, switching over of a new year. I made the mistake in 2020, and I can admit it now. I stood up here where we were at that time. I stood from the pulpit, and I proclaimed 2020 is our year. And I announced this is going to be the best year we've ever had. And that was, I was wrong. I missed it by that much. I was a little off, and it ended up being kind of the worst year in the history of ever. And so it wasn't good. And I learned my lesson, and I made a commitment that year. I will never do that again. And I will never stand in front of you and tell you this is your year, this is the best year ever. Because the truth is, who knows? I don't know. And so I think hope is great. I love hope. Some amount of expectation is a wonderful thing. I think I'd rather do life in hope and faith than not. I like believing the best, but at the end of the day, I do think living with a bit of realism is healthy and is a good thing. And so I think it's more accurate to say, as we stand on this threshold of a new year, I think it's more accurate and appropriate to say, this year is going to have some really great moments. And I think that's safe to say. We're going to have some great moments in 2023. There's going to be some beautiful, life-changing moments that are wonderful. And I think it's also as safe to say there's going to be some moments in 2023 that are awful. There's going to be some low points this year, and there's going to be some sad moments. There's going to be some difficult moments this year, and that's unfortunately a promise. And I was kind of taking some time this week, getting ready for today, as I do, and I went back to this moment. I go back to this moment a lot, I think, where, in a similar way, where we've transitioned from one year into another, and it's a new day, it's a new opportunity, it's a new year facing us. There was a transition moment in the life of the disciples who were following Jesus, and we read about the last evening they spent together, and they transitioned from this time where it's like, hey, we've been doing ministry together for 3 years, learning from Jesus, living around Jesus, doing what Jesus does and instructed us to do, and we're just kind of following his lead, and we can trust him. He's leading us into some uncharted territory, but it's good because Jesus is with us. And then Jesus tells them, guys, I'm not going to continue the journey with you. You're going to have to go it alone. And you're going to have to go this without me, which was a major game changer for them, I assure you. And in that moment where Jesus is allowing them to understand that life going forward is going to be without him physically with them, but in that moment, in that time together, is very careful to encourage them with this statement. He says, in this world, you're going to have trouble, but you can take heart because I've overcome the world. It's a promise. In the same way that we're proclaiming 2023 is going to have some trouble. It's quoting Jesus. This world is going to offer you trouble. It's going to offer you difficulty. It's going to present you challenges. And he promised his disciples that. I love the fact that at the same time he emphasizes two very important things. He's asking them to focus on two things at once, which we can do occasionally. He said, recognize and acknowledge the trouble. Don't ignore it. He states it. In this world, you will have trouble. See it, acknowledge it, recognize it, admit it, own it. It's going to happen. I think Christians historically have been guilty of putting their heads in the sand, and just we name it and claim it and blab it and grab it, and we're like, I remember this, not to incriminate my mom, but I remember she used to say all the time, we had different theology growing up than we do now, but she'd say all the time, Chris, don't speak that into existence. And suddenly I felt very powerful. I was like, $1 million. So I was scared to say negative. But Jesus himself is saying, no, I mean, let's be honest. This whole journey is going to be bumpy, and there will be trouble. So at the same time, he says, acknowledge, recognize your own trouble. But at the same time, same sentence, he asks us to recognize and acknowledge his finished work. So he says, in this world you have trouble, same time, same sentence. He says, but take heart, I've overcome all of this. And he overcomes all of this, has overcome all of this through his finished work and his perfect sacrifice. And so he is saying that to us today, that yes, in this world you have trouble, but take heart, which means to have courage. Have courage because he's overcome this. The courage, the taking of heart that he is mentioning has nothing to do with what we can do, or what we have done, or what we will do. In fact, he says, you have trouble, but take heart, and then he shifts the focus because of what I've done. because of what I've done for you. Don't take heart because you're confident and you're smart and you're strong, because the truth is, you're not. And as much as we like to believe we're strong, we're capable, we're competent, we're together, we're driven, we're go-getters, we're get-it-done, inspirational types of people, the truth is, we're not. Paul himself said that the only thing I've learned to boast in is my weakness, because that's all I got. I'm weak. And I have moments, shining moments that seem like, oh yeah, you're doing great. Well, eventually, for everyone, the poo-poo hits the oscillating fan, and it gets ugly. So Jesus is saying, shift your focus. Yes, you have trouble. Acknowledge it. Own it. But take heart, because I've overcome all of this. I want to shift our focus over to we just celebrated Christmas and everything. There's a lot of family stuff. I want to shift our focus over to Jesus's family. Now, in a figurative sense, of course, the disciples were his family. And in fact, he asks John to look after his mom. He is like a brother with Jesus. And so, but Jesus, he actually had a half-brother. And his half-brother, his name was James, old Jimmy. And James, his name more accurately translated, James is not a great translation. His name more accurately would be, in the original language, Jacob. But we call him James for whatever reason. James, of course, is the author of the book of James. And he goes on to be a champion to a group of believers who were formerly of the Jewish faith. So these would be, we call them Messianic Jews. So these are Jewish Christians, and he is helping guide them through a very difficult season of time after the passing of Christ, and in this new faith that they are trying to live out, and they're losing everything. And so he's basically pastoring a group of people outside of Jerusalem who are Messianic Jews, who are going through torture. And I don't use that word lightly, that actual torture. They are being discriminated against, they're being tortured, they're being persecuted, they're being killed, they're being tormented. They're having a very difficult season of life. And so the book of James is tragic, and it's direct. James has no filter, if you'll notice. And it can be a controversial book because it feels very direct and it kind of hits you between the eyes. And so the book is potent, it's powerful. But then you remember who he's speaking to. This is a desperate situation for people who are trying to, the people are dragging them back under the law. And if they're not going to agree with the law, then they're going to be tormented. They're going to be tortured. And so Jesus' half-brother, James, he opens his letter, his book, the book of James, in chapter 1, looking at verse 2 through 4. And we'll look at these words for the next couple weeks in our new series this year. But he opens it up like this. I want you to consider it all joy, my brethren, my family, when you encounter various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. And let endurance have its perfect result, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. This statement is quotable. It's been heard. It's well known, but it's not exactly an exciting verse. In fact, I would say this is one of my least favorite verses in the Bible. James has probably 3 or 4 of my top 10 least favorite statements in all of the Bible. And this kind of statement, it's almost like he's a glutton for punishment. Consider it joy. Now that word, we don't throw that around lightly, right? Joy it's a big powerful word. Like, it's not like I'm just happy, I'm doing okay, I'm having a pretty good day. Joy is it's 3 letters, but it's a big word. And he's saying, consider it all joy, like elation, like this is awesome. When you face various trials, when you're going through tough stuff, make sure that you are looking at it the right way, through the right lens, as something that is joyous, joyful. That is so messed up. This guy, he's got a screw loose. That is not how my brain works. I know that's not how your brain works. We don't look at troubles as a positive. When Jesus promised troubles, and when Jesus encourages people to take heart in spite of the troubles, that sounds okay to me. Like what it means is have courage, take heart. Well, here James goes even further and says, actually experience joy. It's a positive thing. And he's not saying that because the troubles themselves are a good thing. He's pretty clear. He's saying that the result of the troubles are worth celebrating. In other words, troubles are bad, but what they produce in us is worth celebrating and worth being excited about. Maybe that softens it a little bit, but still, I'm trying my best to be with you, James, but you lost me. Troubles, trials, difficulties, struggles, James is saying they present an opportunity that we wouldn't have otherwise. They present something that when everything's going according to plan, you don't get to take part in. You don't get to experience. It's only in the tough stuff that, and this is the way he puts it, it's only through the tough stuff that our faith is tested. And our faith being tested is a good thing, because when our faith actually is tested or even exercised, then we have the potential of producing something, of a result of that testing of our faith being something that he refers to as endurance. You acquire endurance only through the testing of your faith. Faith is a simple idea until you need it. Faith is a great philosophy. It's a great Christian word. It's a great Christian concept. And so you're forced into a place where you actually need to use it. Then it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my entire life. It is the worst idea I can imagine. Faith is at the other end of the spectrum of control, which I hate, because control is something that I am extremely addicted to. I love being in control. I hate not being in control. It drives me batty. I despise it. So faith is something that I, as a believer, as a pastor, I will say to you before God and everybody, all these witnesses, I will proclaim to you, even though I preach the gospel of grace, that we are saved by grace through faith, I don't like living by faith. I don't enjoy it. It doesn't make me happy necessarily, because it's scary, it's difficult, but honestly, there's no other way to do life. There's no other option. So I am a begrudging walker by faith. Is that how you say it? I'm a begrudging liver by faith. Liver and onions. I don't do it because I'm excited to do this. I live by faith because that's how you live. It's kind of like, does anyone really enjoy eating their vegetables? I mean, maybe some. Here in the South, we put a whole tub of country crock in our green beans, and that's great. But just straight up, strictly speaking, eating in a healthy way is way less exciting than eating the stuff that we actually want to eat. But you know you've got to eat the good stuff, right? Faith is the good stuff. And it's not this, what I rather have is the junk food of control, the junk food of living for me, the junk food of making this whole life about myself. But that doesn't carry me anywhere. In fact, you live with the ramifications and the repercussions of that, and it's not a positive. But when you live by faith, and then as you live by faith, as your faith is tested by hardship and difficulty to where you're out on a limb and you have no other option but to trust God, and that faith is proven and tested and exercised, then something develops within us that is called endurance. We begin to develop this quality that is endurance. It's a quality that is invaluable, that I don't hear enough Christians talk about, that I don't hear emphasized nearly as much as it should be. But I had the opportunity, I was speaking to a new friend. This is about a month ago or so. I don't even think it was that long ago. 3 or 4 weeks. And she was telling me the story. I just asked her, I said, tell me about your journey. And she was telling me about these experiences that she had had in the last couple years. And I'm listening to her talk, and I'm like, how in the world do you get through something like that? How in the world do you get through that smiling and pleasant? She was a joy to be around. And I was like, how do you not turn into a bitter, angry, resentful person? Because she hadn't. And we were talking, and I had this message brewing in me months ago. And I come across this word that had been bouncing around my heart and my mind for months. And I kind of settled there. I was like, I think we need to talk about this quality. And I'm sitting across the table from this lady, and she said, Chris, my son asked me one day, Mom, if you were to sum up life in a word, what word would you use? And she said, I told him the word I would choose is endurance. It requires endurance. And I couldn't believe it. I said, it's so funny you say that, because that's a word that's been echoing in my heart for months, and it confirms something in me. I was like, this is something that we need to approach as a family, as a community. It's something that we need to talk about. And I thought, leading into a new year, this is a good time to talk about it. And again, we don't know what the new year holds, but I can promise you that at some point endurance is going to be necessary. And what is endurance? Just to give it kind of a layman's definition, it's to not quit, to not throw in the towel. And the Apostle Paul makes this statement to the church in Ephesus. He says, hey, having done everything you can to stand. Having done all you can do to stand. That's endurance. To stand, to stay, to remain, to not quit, to not give up, to not throw in the towel, to keep going. And I went to my Bible. I've got a parallel Bible. So on one side of the page is the New American Standard Translation, which is usually what I use on Sundays, in case you're curious. On the other side is the Message translation of the Bible, which is beautiful and just very poetic and very emotional, and I like that too. And so a lot of times I'll kind of jump around and see what it says in the Message translation. I read the verses that we just read James, I read in the Message translation again this week, and it stood out to me. I thought I'd share it with you. This is how the author's Eugene Peterson, this is how he puts it. Consider it a sheer gift, friends, when tests and challenges come at you from all sides. You know that under pressure, your faith life is forced into the open, and it shows its true colors. So don't try to get out of anything prematurely. Let it do its work so that you become mature and well-developed, not deficient in any way. I love the sentence, don't try to get out of anything prematurely. I don't think that we fully understand how much we try to get out of things prematurely. I think we underestimate how often we do that. This is a world that is bent on instant gratification. It is a world that is resistant to challenges, hardships, struggles of any kind. This is a world that has little to no commitment or resolve. To commit to something is not a commitment. It is a temporary agreement to say, I'll be in this until it gets tough, and then I'm gone. There is a social, cultural pressure to avoid struggle, to avoid difficulty, to avoid accountability, to avoid anything that is difficult, that is tough. When the going gets tough, we Google easier options. That's where we are. And I'm not saying that as a slap on the hand. I'm saying that as a truth. I am speaking truth. And the chief sinner as it relates to this is moi. When my navigation thing, my Google Maps shows me, hey, you get the red line, right? There's traffic up there, and it's adding to your travel time 27 minutes. I would rather drive 30 minutes out of the way and keep moving because I hate resistance. I hate traffic. I hate struggle. I don't like things getting tough. I don't like when things aren't easy. There's something in our brains, and this we pick this up along the way. And this is something, and I'll talk about parenting a little bit throughout this series. There's something that we learn and we pick up and we catch as children, that when you have a plan and the plan is disrupted, or the plan doesn't continue as it should, we see the stop sign or the resistance as then the plan is bad. This is the wrong direction. Let's not do this. But that is not at all the case. In fact, if we're talking about strength, and a lot of us make New Year's resolutions, which I do as well, a lot of resolutions center around health and personal health and fitness and all that. Gym memberships are through the roof right now. Now, gym participation come June drops significantly because we have the best of intentions. But in order to get stronger, strength requires resistance. If you watch old sci-fi movies, you'll hear the phrase, resistance is futile. I would say resistance is fruitful. And that's kind of what James is getting at. The testing of our faith, the exercise of faith, is when your faith meets resistance, and yet you stick on the side of faith and say, I'm staying with it, then there's a strengthening that comes as our faith is tested in resistance. Let me dispel a rumor And I don't even know if this is a said, spoken rumor, but it is caught, it is believed, it is a thought that's shared by most. God works within our comfort zones. That could not be further from the truth. That is absolutely backwards. In fact, I would say God rarely works within our comfort zones. God, if it doesn't require faith, then it doesn't require God. This is just, and this is, I know this, for some people, there's like, this is basic stuff. Well, maybe we need to return to the basics because we forget this. We honestly think that God is going to move into our comfort zone and do miraculous things there, and that comfort zone requires no faith whatsoever. Now, there's a million reasons to avoid tough stuff. Not the least of which is tough stuff is uncomfortable, and we have to move outside of our comfort zone. No one likes doing that. Tough stuff is scary. Fear. We're confronted by fear. I am an introvert, and you may not have picked up on that, but I am an introvert. Now, probably, I'm not going to make you raise your hands because introverts hate when I make them raise their hands. Introverts probably make up the lion's share of the people in this room in our church. I would say the vast majority of our church are introverts. All that means is that social interaction costs us something. There's a tab at the end of social interaction. Now, extroverts, there is a cost to being alone. There's a cost to not being social. There's a tab at the end of that. So one of those two things depletes you. One of those two things energize you. For me, social interaction depletes me. It costs me something. When my daughter was very, very young, she got birthday money. And she had a lot of money. And I was like, how do you have this much money? And I'm like, it is time for you to pay me back for all the money that you've taken that is mine. And my daughter was really, it was a phenomenon, as most things are in childhood. It was a phenomenon for about 3.5 minutes. But squishy things was the rage. And she found online a big, squishy strawberry that was scented, smelled like strawberry. It was $40. And she was insistent upon, this is what I want to spend my money on, a $40 strawberry. I turned to my wife and I said, absolutely no. I'm putting my foot down. I am your father. It will be over my dead body you buy. You spend $40 on a squishy strawberry. I'm trying to teach a 5-year-old the value of finances and money and the cost of goods and all this stuff. My wife's like, Chris, she's 5. And I was like, whatever. She got it. She enjoyed it for exactly 3.5 minutes. And then the squishy strawberry, the $40 squishy strawberry, ended up at a Goodwill somewhere because it just was irrelevant, didn't matter. Would my daughter today spend $40 on a squishy strawberry? Absolutely not. In fact, my daughter is way more frugal than I am now. She learned from me. I think I raised her correctly, and I think she learned. But she saves her money. In fact, the vast majority of the time, if she spends her money, and I'll brag on my daughter, she's spending it for someone else. She's spending it on someone else. I had the best birthday this year. My daughter bought me multiple gifts, which I'm not used to, none of which were a squishy strawberry. She didn't re-gift it. But the value system changed. Now, for us to engage in uncomfortable situations, I'm going to give some language here that I think is worth using and exercising. The priority has to outweigh the resistance or the uncomfortability. If the priority doesn't outweigh the resistance or the difficulty, then we're not going to do that thing, because it's not worth the uncomfortable feelings, being stretched. It's not worth the resistance I feel in doing it, so the priority slips down the list. It's got to be worth the payment. So for us socially awkward folks, or folks that have resistance to being engaged socially, us introverts, the payoff has to be worth the challenge. It has to be worth being uncomfortable for us to do it. We have to see the value system from God's point of view, not just from our own. In other words, the worst thing in the world is not being uncomfortable. The worst thing in the world is not being stretched. In fact, if I were to quote the Bible, those are positive things, because there is a resolve in me that is growing as I challenge myself and endure through them. I'm going to kind of use this example. Wrap up here in a moment, but I want to use this as an example. Now, this is not the end-all, be-all by any means, but I thought this was appropriate, and it's a great example. It's a clear example that you find in the book of Galatians. If you turn to Galatians chapter 6, the book of Galatians, powerful book, probably my favorite book of the Bible. And the Apostle Paul is speaking to new believers who are being pressured to step under the law and basically become Jewish as opposed to living by faith. So the pressure that they're under, this community of young Christians, is to walk not by faith, but to walk in their own capability of keeping the religious rules, regulations, and rituals. So the Apostle Paul is encouraging them, guys, don't go there. It's empty, it's void, it's lifeless, it is destructive, it's not good for you. So he encourages them with this statement in Galatians chapter 6, verses 9 and 10. Let us, and he's including himself, let us not lose heart or get discouraged or give up in doing good, doing what's right, doing what we're supposed to be doing. In due time, we will reap if we don't grow weary. So then, while we have the opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those in the family of faith. What is Paul getting at here? He's echoing the idea of endurance. He's reminding us that endurance pays off. That the outcome is way better than the cost, than the sacrifice. The resistance we feel to doing this is smaller than the reward in doing it. And the thing that he's talking about specifically, he says doing good. And he's not just generally saying doing good in a very generic sense. He's saying, he gets specific. He says doing good for others, especially within the community of faith, the family of faith, where God has connected you. So he's saying endure even when it's tough, even when it's exhausting, even when it's uncomfortable, keep going, don't quit, as it relates to our personal involvement in the family of faith. Endurance means keep going even when it's difficult to keep going. To keep going even when it's difficult to keep going. And he's saying, guys, I'm not going to lie to you. Community is tough. Family is difficult. A commitment to this is not easy. He's bringing this up because he knows this isn't easy. Now, where we face challenges such as schedule and energy levels and social anxiety and fear and a lack of desire to commit to being transparent or in open and honest with people and letting people engage in our lives, it can be tough because we have personal lives and everybody mind their business. That's our challenge. The challenge of the community he's talking to is a little bit more dramatic than that. And especially the community that James is talking to as far as endurance is going is guys, keep going even though you're being persecuted and beaten. You're being tormented by people oppressing you for what you believe. Our version of that is, I got a lot going on. My schedule's kind of full right now. Either way, it's all subjective. Either way, the Apostle Paul is saying it's worth committing to enduring through that and not quitting on it. I'm very, very thankful for parents who were unrelenting with our connection and commitment to the local church. I didn't always celebrate that decision. It wasn't always my favorite commitment. But I remember I got my first job. I sat down for an interview in my first job, and my mom said, Chris, you make sure to tell them you don't work on Sundays, you don't work on Wednesday nights. End of story, no exceptions. And I was embarrassed. Because, again, I'm an introvert, I'm shy, I don't like ruffling feathers, I don't like rocking the boat. But I had to stand there because I feared my mom more than I feared this new boss. I said, sir, I'm happy to work and I will work hard. And I got promoted and I got raises and before you know it, I was the star pupil, but I unrelenting. I will not work Sundays, I will not work Wednesday nights, period. My parents made a commitment that we're going to be in church together. Now, I know again, I'm going to bring up parenting. There's something that's been spread in our culture that's, hey, you want your kids to want to go to church. You never want to make them. You make them go to school. You make them go to the doctor. You make them go to the dentist. Not because they enjoy those things, but because they're good for them. Why being in the family of faith is lesser than those commitments, I don't know. Because here's the Apostle Paul saying, endure that. If you're going to endure anything, endure that. Commit to that. And again, I'm very thankful because the only thing that kept me being absolutely off the deep end was something in me that was forged as we endured through that together. There's something that galvanizes within us when we don't quit on it, when it's not something that we're excited to do or happy to do. I've never been excited to go to the doctor in my life. I'm worried about people who are excited to go to the doctor. I don't trust them. I don't want to be your friend. You're like, oh, yay, the dentist. I want nothing to do with you. But it's a good thing. It's a similar thing, and I would even say way, 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 way more important to commit to a community where we're being moved outside of ourselves. The reason endurance is so tough is because it fights every ounce of selfishness that we have, and we've got a lot. I knew that this conversation was going to be difficult as we continue through it and talk about it. And I knew it was going to be difficult because going through tough stuff is difficult. It's hard enough by itself. But considering committing to a process and removing the exit doors, it gets claustrophobic, if I'm being real. To say that I'm in it through thick and through thin, that's a lot. That's a big commitment. Renting a house and buying a house, two very, very different things. Buying a house feels permanent. Dating and living with someone is extremely different from marrying that person. And maybe that's why far less people are getting married, if we're honest. Because it's very difficult to commit to something that is beyond just me. If you dig through the gospel and you catch the heart and the mission of Jesus, it looks nothing like individualistic, self-made Christianity in the way that we've made it in our image. It looks a lot like my life for you. In fact, Jesus says, I'm going to show you what the whole thing's about, and then he died for people that hated him. The life of Christ is a life of my life for you. And to give ourselves to that requires a lot of endurance. But I'm going to close here. I'm going to close with why that's important and what's in it for us. So James encourages us to allow endurance, the endurance that the testing of our faith produces, to have its perfect result in us. The phrase perfect result, it speaks to let it reach its conclusion. Let it reach its outcome uninterrupted. Don't interrupt it. Don't quit on it. There's a lot of analogies and allegories in the Bible about farming. And to use one of those, endurance would be you bury the seed and then you trust that it's doing its thing. But in our culture, what we would rather do is bury the seed, dig it up, see what it's doing, put it back. Wait 2 weeks, dig it up, how's it doing, put it back. Because we want control, we want involvement, we want to be in there, and so faith is difficult. But endurance is saying, I'm trusting the process, that God is doing his thing. So he says, let endurance have its perfect result. Let it reach its conclusion. Let it do its thing. And then he goes on to say, so that you may be perfect. So that you may be perfect. Now, the word perfect there is complete and lacking nothing. To be perfect here, the conversation is to be complete and lacking nothing. So, what he's getting at, and what we are being taught in the new season, is that there's a process to becoming fully you. Process to you becoming fully who it is that God crafted you to be. And it is not the process that the world shouts at us, that is a process of get out of my way, I do me, you do you, I'm going to make my life worth living. Not it. It's a process that requires a supernatural grace and resolve to a resolve to not throw in the towel and not quit on God doing what God does in and through us. He's begun a good work. He's faithful to complete it. He's going to work things out within us in all he asks of us. In the same evening that he tells his disciples, you're going to have trouble, take heart, I've overcome it. In that same evening, he says, guys, I'm asking you to do something, and over and over and over. He uses the same verb over and over and over. He says, guys, I want you to abide in me. That is to say, stay with me. Stay connected. And he speaks to a temptation that we all have. He says, guys, you're going to want to be sticks. You're going to want to be independent agents. I want to let you know how that works out. Apart from me, disconnected from me, you can do nothing. Absolutely nothing. But he says, if you abide in me, if you're connected and grafted with me, us together in the vine, we will bear much fruit. We will become who it is that we're meant to be, and that is someone who benefits the people in the world around them. God didn't create you to have a happy life. He's going to give you a beautiful life that extends way beyond this temporary existence. But he created us on purpose to do for others, to make a difference, to make this world a more beautiful place, to represent the kingdom of God on the planet. Your will be done, your kingdom come in us, here on earth as it is in heaven. He works through us. But it is not simple, it is not easy, it is not for the faint of heart. I will never pretend to say that Christianity is for the faint of heart, because it is not. It requires endurance. That yes, there's going to be times where it feels like we're rolling downhill and this is cooking and we're feeling it. We feel like getting up and going to church. We feel like going to family groups. We feel like being engaged. And then you're going to hit a season of time where you're like, I don't feel it right now. But endurance says, I know it's tough, but it's worth it. Don't quit. Don't throw in the towel. Endure. You make a commitment to endure before you need to start enduring. You make a commitment to say, things are good right now, but I know they're not always going to be. When you get married, when I got married 21 years ago, I stood at an altar with my wife, and I made a commitment before God and everyone there that through bad times, good times, ups, downs, I'm in it. I'm not bailing. I'm committed. I'm engaged. It's a covenant. The covenant that Jesus made with us was, I'm going to open the door for you with my own blood. I'm going to die so that you can live. And all that he asks in return, John 3:16, whoever believes, faith, stays connected to him through good and bad. And yes, my wife and I disagree on some things occasionally. But it's okay, because we're in it together. And yes, I fuss at God sometimes. And I'm not afraid to admit prayers are a little fussy. And I let God have it. I think it's good for the soul. But we're in it together. And I know he's never going to leave me. He's never going to forsake me. He's faithful to begun the work that's begun in me. He's faithful to complete it. And I'm going to him every step of the way. I want to pray with you. You would just bow your head and close your eyes. I want to take just one moment here, and we're going to sing one more song together. If you're here, you say, Chris, I want a connection with Jesus that is real, that is tangible, that I can lean on. I want to commit to this journey, this relationship. I'm going to count to 3. Do. Just raise your hand. We're going to pray a prayer together. But are raising our hand saying, today's my day. 1, 2, 3. Just raise your hand. Beautiful. Good, good, good. Church, you can put your hands down. Let's all pray this out loud together. Jesus, thank you for believing in me. And I pray that you would help me trust you. Be my Lord. Be my Savior. Stay forward. That I need. In Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Hey, let's stand and sing one more song together.
Thank you for the cross that you have carried. Thank you for your blood that was shed. You took the weight of sin upon your shoulders and sacrificed your life so I could live. Sacrificed your life so I could live.
Thank you.
Thank you for the cross that you have carried. Thank you for your blood that was shed. You took the weight of sin upon your shoulders and sacrificed your life so I could live. Sacrificed your life so I could live. Now nothing is holding me back from you, Redeemer of my soul. Now nothing can hold me back from you. Your love will never let me go. Your love will never let me go.
you guys can have a seat, and so before we kind of get to the offering part, I wanted to kind of, this is a silly thing, and I apologize for its silliness, but I wanted to introduce kind of a theme for our year, and it's an overarching theme that is going to probably touch and affect every aspect of our church in some way, shape, or form, but it's a priority. And you really do live life out of your priorities. What you value most is what you give your most time to, your attention to, your finances to. At the end of the day, what's going to really change our life is not dedication to shallow things. New year, new you. Whatever. What really changes the game for us is a change in value system. And the value system is not something that we can acquire just in the world from culture. It is something that is from the heart of God. And I think Jesus spoke directly to it. Seek first my kingdom, my righteousness, and everything else will fall into place. It's a statement of priority. And so what we're called to do, what we're called to be, again, it doesn't necessarily exist within our comfort zone. It's a challenge. It's a stretch. It requires growth. It requires endurance. But the priority is beautiful and necessary. And so this year, our little slogan is 23 and we. 23 and we. I've done the 23 and me thing. Well, I didn't do it. My dad did it. And it was enlightening about myself. But there's more to this life than me. God didn't create one guy and said, all right, let's just work on you. We have the gift of each other. We've got the gift of we. And I want the thought and the priority and the importance of we to really grow in our hearts this year. And I would not be doing my job as a pastor, as a leader, if I didn't bring to the table and emphasize and preach what matters. I mean, it's easy to say what everyone likes to hear. You can do it. You're doing great. I'm just not that kind of. I'd rather be honest and talk about what actually really matters. And that is Jesus is everything we need. We have everything.
So that's Emery being we-minded. He just shared his microphone with me. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, pal. They did great today, didn't they? These
guys. In light of that, I want to make sure that we encourage, and you'll probably hear me say this a lot, encourage everyone. And I know we're all different places in life and schedules and priorities and stuff, but I really want to encourage everybody at some point in the next couple months to find a family group for you. And not just for you, for the people there, to have you in it. And so we're going to do our best to kind of present options and things at work. But I don't want things like that to be a take or leave kind of thing, because what's important, what really matters, especially the family of faith, especially, he doubled down on that, especially this. And so in light of that, I just to make it easier, and I'm sorry, gals, I know you want to come hang out, but I'm doing a guys group, and we're going to do it twice a month. So even if you can just make once, it's there. But if you can make both, that's great. But it's going to be like I think it's the second, fourth Monday of the month, and the slide's wrong, but it's the 23rd. I made the slide. I did that. But the 23rd of this month, 6:30 here And it's not going to be just kind of a normal. This is a group that is about discipleship, and that's what we're doing. And it's not becoming disciples of Chris or Chris disciples. We're becoming disciples of Christ together, and so it's going to be a very important time together. And we're committed to this, to the quality, to the depth, and making priority and the things that God's asked us to make priorities in. And so that's what we're leaning into. So 23 and we. It's a stupid thing. It's a dumb graphic, and I apologize. It's silly. It's so Christian to take something and turn it into a Christian thing like Burger King of Kings or whatever it is. Stop it. Stop it now. But I did it, and I apologize, but it makes sense to me. It's catchy. Hey, if you'd like to participate with us in helping, loving, serving our community, we want to give you the opportunity to do that. Real simple. You can give online anytime at our website, chatfamilychurch.com. You can give in person here today if you'd like to. There's a giving box in the back if you want to drop a check in there, make it out to Family Church. You can give by cash credit card using your envelope in front of your seat. And you can text to give. The number's up there. And just text the amount to that number, and it'll walk you through the process. I love you very, very much. I hope that this year is memorable and powerful and amazing. And good, bad, and ugly, we're going to be in this together. And God's going to do incredible things. So I love you. Have a great year, and I'll see you soon. Bye.